Hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the Thursday English live stream, where you can improve your English, widen your vocabulary and your grammar, and supercharge your listening skills. And if this is your first time watching, you're very welcome. And if you've come back, maybe to watch the replay, thank you very much for keeping us company. My name's Craig from the website mansioningles.com. And if you're a Spanish speaker and you're learning English, that's a good resource for you. And if you like learning English by listening, then I definitely suggest trying our podcast, inglespodcast.com. And that's where you can find it, or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you need to improve your speaking, go to englishcraig.com and I can help you with groups of conversation where we get together, a lovely group of people online, and we can improve your conversation skills. And with me today, as always, my friend and colleague Lynn from putitlikethis.com. Well, ex-colleague, I should say. Hi, Lynn.
Ex-colleague, yeah. Well, we're colleagues in this, aren't we? We're still colleagues, yeah. Yeah, hello, everybody. My name's Lynn, and I'm from putitlikethis.com. That's my website. I'm an online English teacher. And I specialize in tailor making courses to help students try to find their own voice in English. So if you have specific objectives, then I will try to help you and tailor make a course so that you can say the things or write the things that you really want to in English. Yeah, that's me.
That's
so
you.
If you're interested, go to putitlikethis.com.
Putitlikethis.com. Just remember that. Putitlikethis.com. So if it's your first time watching, you're very, very welcome. We're going live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So if you are joining us live, please say hi, tell us where you're from, and ask us questions during the live stream. We're here to help you with your English. So any questions, preferably that relate to the topic we're going to talk about. Always nice to get questions on what we're actually talking about. But we've decided to do a series of streams on one main topic, haven't we, Lynn?
That's right. And if you can remember, for those of you who joined us last year, Craig and I were alternating. We do this live stream every 2 weeks, and we were alternating the classes and using one class to try to cater for people who are preparing for exams, to look at some of the skills you need in the speaking parts of the exams. And we were using the other class to focus on grammar points or vocabulary points or more general topics. Mm-hmm. So this series that we're preparing, or that we're going to try and prepare, is related to the exam-based topics. And it's about the 5 senses that we have. So we have hearing, speaking, sight, smell, and touch.
Or maybe the sixth sense as well. We could do the sixth sense.
We'll do that one before the summer when you explain to me what the sixth sense is. But why not? But often in the speaking exam, particularly at higher levels, and especially if any of you are preparing for the C2 exam, the proficiency exam, when they give you in the oral exam some visual prompts, sometimes they say, tell us about how the people are feeling. Tell us about the kind of sounds you can hear. And these are vocabulary areas that can be quite challenging. So we thought we would dedicate maybe 5 of the exam-focused classes, or one on each of the senses, and possibly a 6th with the sixth sense, which whatever that is, I'm not really sure. But today we're going to look at sound.
Javi wants us to talk about the sixth sense. He's just said in the chat that will be mind-blowing to talk about the sixth sense. Yeah. We'll see.
Well, that's something to look forward to. Keep tuned in until the summer, and we'll try and do it just before the summer comes.
Let's do the main 5 first, and then we'll think about the 6.
That's right. But maybe we can say hello. We've got Javi. Hi, Javi from Peru. Nice to see you. We've got. I still don't know if I'm saying it right. Saida.
I think it's Shada. Is it Shada?
Shada from Turkey. Yeah. I'll tell you what, Shada, tell us now. It's either Craig says Shader.
Shader
And
from,
I'm pronouncing cider. Please
and
pop
it's Turkey as well. They've changed the name of Turkey to Turkey.
Turkey. Okay.
Turkey.
So can you write in the chat and tell us if it's Craig's cider or my attempt at cider? And then if neither of them are right, I don't know what we're going to do, Craig.
Yeah, we apologise. We don't speak
sorry about
speak
that.
Turkish. Hello, Nacho. Nacho's in the room.
And
Hi,
Nacho's
Nacho.
there.
Good to
Hi.
see you as well.
Nice to meet you. Okay, and if anybody else is joining in, please let us know that you're there.
Yeah, say hello.
So the first one we're going to do is to look at the sense of sound. And what you're going to learn today, or you're going to encounter today, is lots of vocabulary that describes sounds. Now, this vocabulary doesn't just come in the exam, but it also comes, for example, if you read novels, because often it says it will say the brakes screech to a halt. So you will come across this descriptive vocabulary when you read novels, or sometimes when you actually, even on Netflix or streaming channels, if you've got the subtitles in English, sometimes they actually describe the sounds that you're hearing. Those are subtitles for the hard of hearing. So you do come across this vocabulary, but it's not so usual in everyday spoken English.
And I'm a bit nervous about these sounds, Lynn, because I think we're going to have to make the sounds rather than it's very difficult to explain a sound, isn't it?
Well,
so I think we have to try. We're going to be some sound effects here, which I'm a bit nervous about.
That's true. Just before I can see those, it's Shader. Craig, you were right, Shader. So hi, Shader. Right, thank you. Okay, so shall we? So I have divided. There's lots of this vocabulary, and we don't want to overwhelm you. So we've kind of stuck to 7 or 8 terms, 7 or 8 new words in different categories. So we've got 5 different categories, and we can start with the sound of animals first, and then we've just picked out 8 words which describe animals. So first of all, let's look at the pronunciation of them. And as we are reading them, if you think you know the animal that makes this sound, maybe you can type it in the chat. All right, this is just to engage you. So the first one is clucking. We won't make the sound yet. We'll see if people know what the animal is, right? I know, I can see that Craig's dying to make the sound, aren't you?
Well, before that, though, interestingly, I think we pronounce it slightly differently. So can you say it again?
I said clucking.
Clucking. It's very simple.
What do you say? You say
clucking. So my is different.
Clucking, I would say.
Clucking. Very similar, but not exactly the same if you listen carefully.
Well, anyway, an animal makes it, so it doesn't matter.
Which animal clucks?
Clucking. Which animal clucks? And then we have, do you want to do the next one, Craig?
Roaring. So the first vowel sound is or, roaring. So what animal roars? You can put that in the chat.
And then we have purring. Purring. And that is the sound. I always call that the vomiting vowel sound. Because it sounds like...
Is that what you say, the vomiting sound?
I always call it the vomiting vowel because it's the one that sounds like when you're feeling ill and you go, So it's purring.
You remember Fiona Wright? We used to work with someone called Fiona, and I was looking at one of her lessons one day, just listening as she was teaching, and she taught that sound as in the word fur, because some people buy coats that are made with animal fur, and it's a horrible thing to buy animal fur, and it's that sound that it's fur, and she just taught it so wonderfully. So just think of those fur coats. That's the sound you need for purring.
Maybe it's a little bit nicer than saying the vomiting vowel. I always call it the vomiting vowel because it's Okay, so purring, and then we have barking. That's barking.
And the
then
next one, chirping. So that sound is which is the same as purr. Chirping.
But different spelling. That's the trouble with the vowels in English. They have different spelling, but they sound the same. So purring, chirping. The next one is buzzing.
And then we've got mooing. Mooing.
And the last one is neighing. Neighing. Very horrible spelling, isn't it? But it's neighing. Okay, so we've got some answers, haven't we? Right.
Yes, and some of them are very, very good and correct. So Javi's saying that the lion roars in the zoo. That's good. So a roar of a lion.
There are also things like tigers as well, roar. So it's a very strong sound. Like rawr, that is the sound. Yeah, roaring. Yeah, that's right. So it's lions, tigers, those kind of things. Panthers. Maybe.
And Nacho's saying that a clucking sound is made by a hen, correct? Or a chicken. Cluck, 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 cluck.
I knew
Clucking.
You wanted to do that. I knew you wanted to do that sound. I could see that you were getting. That's right. Okay, that's you were wanting to do that. I
So a lot of these words are onomatopoeic, which means the words sound like the noise the animal's making, and clucking is one of those onomatopoeic sounds, and so is purring.
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 Purring is purr. And the animals that make that are cats, aren't they? But not when they're angry. Usually cats when they're angry, well, not a cat, but a lion or a tiger would roar. But a lion, a tiger, and a domestic cat can all purr. And they usually purr when they are happy and content, I think. That's purring. Shader has said buzzing for bees. That's correct, Shader. It can be bees, and it can be any kind of insects as well, really, like flies. Also, we although they sound a little bit different to bees, mosquitoes too. We use the word buzzing for any kind of insect sound, like that. And she also said barking is a dog. That's right.
Yep.
Dogs
well done.
bark. Well
exactly.
done. So we've got. Can you? So
Javi says my cat purrs around my feet.
Lovely.
So and also ducks don't stop clucking. Also very good.
Yeah. So we've got barking, chirping, so buzzing. So we just got mooing and neighing. Does anybody know what mooing and neighing is?
So maybe now we can put the second slide up here, and then you can spot the two animals that you haven't identified. Yeah. So we've got chickens cluck, dogs bark, cats purr, or meow. Is another
meow
one.
Is another one. Meow.
Birds cluck, as you said. So it's cows that moo, and that's exactly the sound they make in English, as Lynn is demonstrating very well.
Moo.
You were dying to do that as well, weren't you?
I was.
And horses neigh.
Neigh. You neigh. Go on. Go in.
Neigh. So horses neigh, that's the sound that a horse makes in English. Now, do they make the same sounds in your language, I wonder? Or do you have different sounds?
Yes, that's true, because, some of them, there is a one, isn't there, where I think we say, don't we say, well, I don't want to bring in more vocabulary, but we have a different sound for sheep, and I know in Spanish they give a different sound, don't they? Yeah. So, but we'll not bring in any more vocabulary.
No, that gets confusing.
That's enough, right? So if you knew them and there was a couple that you didn't, focus on the ones that you didn't. If you didn't know any of them, maybe 8 is too many. So pick the animals that you like the most and try to remember those, and then gradually you'll be able to increase your range of vocabulary. So those are the sounds of animals, right? So let's move on now and talk about sounds of nature.
Okay, here we are. We've got some
Right.
sounds of nature here for you.
Now, these are all a little bit tricky as well to pronounce. We've got rustling, rustling. And then
Whistling, so the H is silent, whistling.
the next one is a bit easier to pronounce, lapping.
And crashing.
And then trickling, trickling. Now, trickling and rustling are a little bit tricky because they've got a lot of consonants there, STL, and the other one is CKL. And actually, we insert a sound, so we say rustling, trickling. So we put that. It's almost as if there's an E in there, but there isn't. But in the spelling, but in pronunciation, yes. So rustling, whistling, lapping, crashing, and trickling. Does anybody know what in nature can make those sounds? What things in nature can make those sounds?
So if you know, write it in the chat, and we'll tell you if you're correct.
If you're correct,
And all of this
then
vocabulary is very useful if you need to describe pictures in the speaking exams, because you'll get extra points. It's not easy vocabulary. It's quite
No.
advanced vocabulary that it's good if you know it.
And if you can use it, the examiners really see that you have a range of vocabulary. A lot of students, particularly in the CPE exam, the proficiency exam from Cambridge, it's very common that they show you photos and they say, what sounds can you hear in these photos? We've got a demonstration of it at the end. And a lot of people say, oh, it's just probably very noisy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
lots of noise,
Or it's quiet. There's lots of noise or it's quiet. And that is not C2 demonstration of range of vocabulary. You need to have this kind of vocabulary.
Ignacio's got a
So-
suggestion here. He's saying lapping a drink by licking. Well, you wouldn't lick a drink. You'd lick an ice cream, for example.
But I think Javi's right. Nacho, you're right. He's thinking of dogs or cats who lap milk.
Okay.
That's true. They're lapping it up, which is yeah.
But we wouldn't, though, would we? We'd
No,
maybe
we don't.
slurp.
We might lick. We can lick. Human beings can lick
And slurp.
which is another sound, slurp. But it's true that animals, when they drink, they lap. That's true. So you've got your warm, Nacho. You're warm there. I'll extend it. We often talk about water lapping. So if you're if you are next to the ocean and it's very calm and the waves are gently lapping the shore, or you might be beside a river and it's just at the edge of the river where the water is lapping the stones, or lapping at the edges of the. So it's just that very nice soft sound. It's very difficult. We can't imitate that, can we?
No, not really.
I can't imitate that. But the lapping of waves or the lapping of the water, and it's just that gentle, very gentle sound that you hear as the water reaches the land.
Javi's saying the wind rustles. Yes, but what? It's not the wind that's rustling exactly,
No.
Javi. The wind is helping to rustle something.
Something else.
Something else.
Which makes the noise.
So it's not the
doesn't
wind.
Rustle.
The wind howls, maybe. You can have a howling wind. But what is actually rustling?
I'm going to go back to lapping. I told you, didn't I? Yeah. So rustling, the wind rustles something, and that's the noise that you can hear. But what is it? What does it? What does it do? What about? Did we say whistling? Did we say? You said howls. The wind can howl, but in actual fact, I'm going to give it to you because I think people are a bit stuck on these ones. The wind whistles, because it makes a sound. Whistling is. That's the way a human would whistle. But the wind can also whistle. through, so the wind whistles. Howls is even stronger than whistles.
It's been howling here recently, hasn't it? It's been
Yes,
very
it
windy,
has. We've been
and the
having
wind's
some
been
rain.
howling around the buildings here.
And whistling is a little bit more gentle, if you like, unless it's making a very strong that kind of sound, then it's definitely whistling. So rustling, which of the, we've got some things after the hyphen. We've got waves, river, strong wind, leaves, and mountain stream. So what is it that rustles? Maybe you can put in the chat.
Paper bags.
Javi said the wind whistles my name. Oh, that's very poetic, Javi. That's very poetic.
So we've got rustling connecting to. Did they say it? Do we know that?
They didn't say it.
They haven't said it yet. Okay. I think we'll tell you.
Rustling refers to the leaves. So the leaves, when the wind moves them, the leaves shake and hit against each other. And that is the sound of rustling. And you can also, you probably can't hear this on my microphone, but I can rustle the papers. You can rustle the papers. So it's that sound of paper or leaves moving together. That is rustling.
And whistling, we said the wind whistles.
Yeah.
Strong wind howls, but wind whistles through the trees. And lapping, I think you described, didn't you? The river or the sea, if it's very, very calm.
Very calm.
So very calm. So it's just touching the sand or the shore, and you can just hear a very soft lapping noise as the water.
That's a lapping sound, but it's quite a regular sound, isn't it? Lapping. Now, the other sound is trickling. And for trickling, I matched it with a mountain stream. Now, a trickling sound, Nacho has written something which helps us get the idea. He said, trickling sand trickled from the bottom of the hourglass. Can you remember the hourglass where you turn it over and the sand comes down slowly, very steadily, but slowly? Now that does, I suppose it can make a sound, but trickle means it comes out in small amounts, gradually. And a mountain stream, because there's lots of rocks in it, and the water's coming down usually on an inclination on the mountain, you hear the water coming over the rocks. It's not a lapping sound because it's not regular like the lapping sound, is it? But it's like a trickling sound. You also hear the trickling of water if you flush your toilet. If you flush the toilet, at the end you will hear the water refilling, and that's a trickling sound.
And when you get to my age, you hear the trickling sound before you flush the toilet. When I was a teenager, it didn't trickle. It's like washing the car. But now, when you get in your 60s, then it's more of a trickle.
Craig, that was not.
It's a good example. What? It's a good example. It illustrates perfectly what trickle is, especially when you're a man of my age.
Deary me, right. So have we got everything? Oh, yeah, and then the last one we had was crashing. Now, I actually put crashing for the waves because on a very, a stormy sea, then the waves, they don't lap gently at the shore. They crash on the shore and they make a very big noise.
And it's been very strong wind here in Valencia. I live quite near the sea, so the waves have been crashing against the shore the last few days because it's been so stormy, such stormy weather.
And to be honest with you, I think for all of you, as a little tip to try to remember this vocabulary, you really have to see it and kind of have a memory of hearing it because otherwise you have no chance. If you write it down in your books, it's really, you have to sort of imagine a situation and think, the trickling water in that stream. I remember crossing that stream and the sound of the trickling water. And if you can kind of remember it in your brain, I think your brain stores it like that somehow, doesn't it? This vocabulary is very strongly connected to us, to the sound, really.
And it also helps if you could write an example sentence, but
Yes.
the funnier or the more extreme, the more vivid and illustrative your sentence is, the more chance it's going to stick in your mind. So if, like, for example, the sentence I
Nobody
gave
is
before,
going to forget
but
Tricoline after
but
today. Everybody's going to know what Tricoline is.
that's the point. And if you have a cat, for example, who's lapping up their milk, then it would help to put my cat's lapping up her milk from the side of the bowl, and that will hopefully stick in your mind.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so I can
Okay,
see that
moving
Hima has
on.
just joined us. Hi, Hima. Great.
Hi, Hema.
We're talking about sounds, Hima, today.
We're talking
Right.
about unusual sounds.
Now we're moving on. We've done animals and nature, and now we're moving on to the sounds of machines. Because there's a
Machines.
lot of machine sounds now. Right.
Do we have to
So-
make these sounds, Lynn?
Well, let's pronounce them first, right? So the first one is whirring.
Like purring.
Uh-huh. You've also put the examples up. Can you not take the examples away or not on that one?
Oh, no.
Don't worry.
Sorry.
It's all right. We'll go faster then. So the
No.
sounds are whirring, buzzing. Now we had buzzing before, didn't we? What did
Yep.
we have buzzing for? Can you
The
remember?
bee, the buzzing bee.
I was testing them. You gave them.
Oh,
the answer.
sorry. I thought you were asking me.
No. I was
I
asking
remember.
I know you know. So whirring, buzzing, clicking, rattling,
rattling,
and beeping.
beeping.
Right.
What would you match with those sounds?
What will we match? Now we've got some machines. I don't know if you know the names of these machines. So we have a pager. That's quite an old-fashioned thing, isn't it? Because
Yeah, I don't
it was-
think people use pages anymore.
But a pager used to be before smartphones. Doctors, for example, if they were on call, which means they had to be reached, they used to have a little machine in their pocket, and it used to make this sound. And then they knew they had to go to a telephone and ring somebody up and find out what was the problem. So that's like a little reminder. That was a pager. A fan, you know, the fans to keep you cool in the summer. Sometimes we have ceiling fans. Intercoms, they're like the video phones at the door outside your apartment block. Yeah, sometimes they're with videos or sometimes they're not. And you put in a number and what's the sound that they usually make? A printing press, like the ones that make the newspapers. Or I said, the counter at the end of a production line. Imagine a factory producing lots of things, and at the end, they are counting how many units there are. And it maybe every 20 units, the counter changes.
Could it also be the checkout at a supermarket? Would
It
that
could.
work for that sound?
I'm not sure. No, I don't think it's quite
No?
that sound.
Okay,
no.
forget
But
that.
Another sound. It's not a machine, but it's this sound of. I don't know if you can hear that.
Yeah, we can hear that.
You can hear that. That's the one that I wanted to make. The sound to the counter at the end of a production line. Right. Okay. So
we've got a comment
Nacho
from Ignacio. Pager, messaging device, beeping.
A pager, a messaging like beeping. That's right, because it goes
Well done.
beep, beep. That's right, beeping.
Good.
Also, cars can also beep, 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 beep on their horns. We have a few words for that. You can say beeping. You can say
hooting.
Hooting in American English, isn't it? I think it's beeping in British English, and we say hooting in American English.
No, I would say hooting in British English. I think there's
Would
another
you?
word in American English. I can't remember what it is now.
Oh, okay. All right.
But
Anyway.
yeah, hooting. I would say in British English.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so can anybody pick up the other ones? What do you think a fan does? What is the sound of a fan? That's right. Javi's
Well
got it.
done, Javi. Yeah.
The ceiling fan doesn't stop whirring.
Whirring.
Whirring is the sound that is made when things go round and round and round and round. And it has that constant, I can't make the sound either, but it has a constant sound, doesn't it? Whirring. So fan whirs. Good.
Shader got it as well. Yeah, large fans.
Fans, perfect.
And Natural got it. Yeah.
Great.
So we've got the fan then.
So
What's
we've got
left?
the
What's
fan,
left?
We've got
What's
the pager beeping.
got the pager?
Then we've got this intercom. Remember at your door outside your apartment block, if you live in an apartment block, if somebody calls you and then you press the button to release the door so that they come in, what sound is that?
Okay, nobody seems to know. Shall we tell them?
Yeah, go on.
Bzzz, bzzz.
Buzzing.
It's a buzzing.
That's buzzing. It's a
Like
bit
the bee.
similar, like the bee. Bzz, bzz. So that one is buzzing. So, and sometimes we even say, "I'll buzz you up." I answer the intercom and I say, "Hi, who is it?" And if you say, "Hey, it's Craig," I'll say, "Oh yeah, that's fine. I'll buzz you up."
Or buzz you in.
Buzz you in, which just means I'm going to press the button now and you're going to be
come in. Yeah.
Okay, so then we've got rattling and clicking. So we've only got two left. We've got the printing press, or we have this sound, which I also described as the counter sound. This sound. Is that clicking? Clicking.
Okay, bye, Gemma. Thanks for joining.
Bye,
It was
Gemma.
good to see you here.
You can catch up on the recording.
You're on the recording. Yeah.
Okay. So this one, anybody?
No, I don't think they're saying rattling, but what rattles?
Rattling is more the printing press, because big machines, when they have movable parts, when metal shakes against metal, then it's a rattling sound.
Like a rattling old bus.
I
like
have
Javi
the
says.
things inside this, and that makes a rattling sound. Can you hear that? Yeah. And so obviously a bus can rattle. A big printing press, that old-fashioned printing press, rattles, makes a lot of noise. Yeah.
My car's rattling. It's about 11 years old now. And when I go over bumps in the road, my car rattles a lot because it's old.
Yeah, that's right. And then that sound was a clicking sound.
Which must be one of the most annoying things when you're teaching in a classroom and there's one student who's sitting there clicking their pen during the lesson. That really winds me up.
The thing that I don't like is when people click their fingers. Sometimes
or their
people
knuckles.
Stretch their knuckles. They
click their knuckles.
And it goes, and that is also clicking. It's a clicking sound. Oh, don't do that. Don't like that one.
Javi says the elevator keeps rattling. Yeah, the old ones, the old elevators with the iron gates that you pull, they rattle.
Gosh, yeah. But even the modern ones rattle quite a lot as well.
Very good. I think you've got those. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Then two more categories left. We've got sounds of humans, sounds of us. So we've got. Do you want to read, Craig?
We've got whispering, so a silent H there, whispering. It might help if you repeat these words after me if you're not sure of the pronunciation. It's called echoing if you just repeat immediately after me to practice pronunciation. Whispering, cackling. Would you include an extra syllable in there, Lynn?
I would say
cackling or
cackling? I would say cackling.
Cackling, I probably would as well. Cackling, giggling. Another syllable in there, giggling, arguing, and cheering. Sounds that humans make. So can you tell us where you would expect to hear those sounds?
or we can put up the different
Shall we put them up?
options.
Give you options? Yeah,
and
we'll
it might
help. We'll help you. So we've got plotting witches around Halloween time when the witches are out riding on their broomsticks and they're cooking up the cats not cooking the cats, cooking up frogs maybe in their cauldrons, and they're plotting and thinking of something some evil to make, some mischief. What sound would witches make? And then we've got school children seeing a teacher make a mistake.
Then we have a football crowd. We have students who are chatting or talking while the teacher is talking, and angry lovers. So what do you think? Well, Shade has already given a definition for whispering, which is a very good one, which is
You've got it
say
absolutely
something silently. That's
Well
right.
done, Shader. Well done.
Yeah, well done. So that was the one that I meant when I said students chatting when their teacher's talking. Usually they're whispering.
I can hear the wind whispering your name tonight. Javi's in a very poetic mood. Some lovely
Yes. Or maybe
collocations.
I think Javi is quoting us song lyrics. That sounds like a song lyric to me. Okay. So, right. So students chatting while a teacher is talking is whispering. So what about giggling or cackling or arguing or cheering? Can anybody
I can do it. Shall I do a cackle? I can do a cackle if you
go
like.
and do a cackle? That was very good. You can do the sound and I can do the face. You do the sound.
Oh, it's giving me a cough. That has.
Well, that I think because there we go. Javi says the witches cackle on Halloween. Thank you, Javi. That's right.
Cackling.
They cackle. So cackle is that kind of, I don't know. Old women can cackle as well, can't they? They don't have to be witches. Old men and old women. It's the way they kind of talk to each other.
So we've got what's left? So we've got giggling.
Giggling.
Generally, children, isn't it?
Isn't it? It is, and it's going. And so if a school children see a teacher when we're in class, Craig, you must have had that. If we
Giggling
make a
children,
mistake,
yeah.
if we drop something or we trip or something, you usually get the children all going, and that is giggling. Giggling.
Yeah.
Arguing, which is not very nice. Usually that's for angry lovers, I would say, or anybody who's angry.
Yeah.
Couples that are arguing, they're shouting very loudly and very angrily. And the last one was cheering. I thought people would get cheering.
Hooray!
Cheering is what the football crowds do. Yeah. That
When
is
there's a goal.
cheering, a big cheering. Also, crowds of people in football, they can also roar. We said roar before, which was to do with lions and tigers. But if it's a really, like if somebody hits the goal and then everybody goes, yeah!
Scores a goal.
Scores a goal. Yeah, not hits a goal, scores a goal. Sorry. Then usually we can also say they're cheering or the crowd roared, we would say, when there's a very loud noise there.
Okay.
Great. And the last one.
The last category, we've got some sounds for you.
These are sounds that I call menacing sounds. So they're threatening sounds. They're unpleasant sounds, if you like.
So we've got screeching, banging, booming, creaking, shouting, crying, and screaming. Now, you might know crying when tears are coming out of your eyes if something's sad, but it can also be a menacing noise, can't it, Lynn? Crying.
It can be.
So let's show you some
what have we got here? Right.
possible.
So we've got a wooden door opening slowly makes this sound. An explosion What sound does an explosion make? What sound does an angry parent make? What sound does an upset individual, somebody who's not happy, somebody who's upset? What sound do fireworks make? What sound does a car braking suddenly? You know, like it's going very fast and then you have to brake. Oh, not bad.
Not bad.
Someone slamming doors. What is that sound? Or someone being tortured. What could that be?
So let me show that I couldn't get all of those words and definitions on the same text slide. So we'll keep jumping from one to the other. So remember, screeching, banging, booming, creaking, shouting, crying, and screaming. If you can write some example sentences showing us what goes with what.
Or maybe what we can do, because it's a bit tricky, maybe we can go a wooden door opening slowly. Can you show them the alternatives? So imagine a wooden door opening slowly. Do you like that one?
So sounds more like a witch cackling, that one.
Oh. I knew we wouldn't get this right. Well, Shader's got one of them. She said, shouting is the angry parent.
Yeah, well done, yes.
Right, well done.
Fantastic.
Javi said the closing door banged suddenly. So I think I had said slamming doors, hadn't I? That's also banging. I think. Is that right?
No, banging.
Yeah. Banging was for slamming doors, like closing doors.
Slamming doors,
which was banging. That's right. So Javi was right.
Yeah.
What about an explosion? What sound does an explosion make? I mean, it can also make bang. You can also bang, or it can. Any idea?
Let's see what you think. It's also the sound when you get supersonic jets flying overhead. Right. Then they make a sonic boom, it's called.
That's right. And Javi's got it. The explosion boomed.
Yeah,
boomed.
well done.
Well done. So what have we got left?
What's left? Let's have a look. We've got, we've done booming, creaking. Have we done banging?
So we've, well, show us the examples because we were going. So we've got the wooden door is creaking, the explosion
booming,
is booming, the
angry parent shouting.
What about the slamming doors was banging? What about someone being tortured? Show the alternatives. So this is a nasty thing. Someone being tortured. What kind of noise would they make? I really don't want to model that one. Okay, not bad. Anybody got that one? Okay, well, they do. It's true. They can shout, they can cry, but they can scream. And
probably
that's
screaming,
what said, Javi. Screaming is the sound that Craig made when he went, ah! That's screaming. So people usually scream in pain very clearly.
Babies scream as well.
Babies scream too, they can. And then somebody who is upset, just not very happy, I think you could say they were crying. You know, it's like, that's crying. When the cries get very strong, then it turns into screaming, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we've got fireworks, which is very topical at the moment because here in Valencia, we're about to start our festival and there are lots of fireworks in our yearly festival and fireworks go bang.
Bang.
In fact, they're called bangers in the UK, firecrackers in the US, and they make a bang. They make a bang sound. Of course, doors can also bang if it's very windy.
Javi has a question, and he's asked, is crying the same as weeping? Well, it's a strange thing with these two because these both verbs describe a visual, right? So weeping is a lot of tears, isn't it? And I think it's like continual, I think, weeping, like lots of streams of tears. And crying means that, but it can also just be one or two tears as well, crying, right? But those are the descriptions of the visual image. But both of these words also describe sounds. And I think crying is a stronger sound. Do you? It's like like that. And
Yeah.
weeping is a sort of gentler one. It's like
I've just started. You're absolutely right. You're,
Would
you're
you say
absolutely
that?
right, Lynn. I've just checked with ChatGPT, and this is what it says for weeping. It's usually more intense than crying and more emotional, and it
More
suggests
emotional.
deep sorrow, grief, or distress,
Yes.
and maybe quieter and more prolonged than crying. So exactly what you've said. Yeah.
It's quieter and more prolonged. Shade has also asked, is yelling the same as shouting?
Yeah,
And
pretty
it
much.
is.
Yelling is more common in American English, and shouting probably in both. But yeah, stop yelling, you might hear an American English speaker say. And I would say shouting, and Lynn would probably too, because we're
Yeah,
British.
so you don't have to shout. Yeah. Okay.
And the Oscar goes to Craig and Lynn. Yay! I'm crying with joy. I'd like to thank my agent, my parents, who have stood by me for all these years. My
who
cat,
made me cry, who helped me develop my crying sound.
my cat, who's purring at my feet. I'd like to thank him as well. So, have we matched all these? Let's get back to the lesson. Have we matched all these? We have.
We've matched them
Okay.
all. Right. Now, just to finish off with this little bit, really, and it might finish off with the class actually, we're just going to show you pictures that could appear in the C2 exam. And what happens in the C2 exam is often they show you 5 pictures, or it could be 7 pictures. And the speaking task with the pictures is divided into 2 parts. In the first part, you have a minute. And this is the question where they might say, you have a minute to talk about these 2 pictures. And so they pick 2 of the selection. And they say, talk about the sounds you can hear. Now, you have to do that for 1 minute. Then they say, now look at all of the pictures. And then there's another part which says, I'd like you to imagine that they're making a television show. But so this initial thing where you have to imagine the sounds, the reason they do it is for you to familiarize yourself with the photograph first. Afterwards, you have a more complicated task. So all of this language today is to try to help you with that very small task where they just say for 1 minute, talk about the sounds you can hear, right? So I'm going to share my screen now, if I may. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Just a second, and I'll just put it up, right? And I go back.
So try and remember those while Lynn's doing that. We had clucking, roaring, purring, barking, chirping was the bird, buzzing the bee, mooing the cow, and neighing the horse.
Yeah.
Rustling with the leaves, whistling, lapping, crashing, and trickling, whirring, whispering, cackling, giggling, arguing, and cheering, and then screeching, banging, booming, creaking, shouting, crying, and screaming.
Right. Now, I think you can see the pictures now. And they would typically say, look at these 2 pictures and talk together about the sounds you can hear. Right. Now, good students talk about the sounds they can hear. Not so good students say, oh, I can see a really busy street and I think it's really noisy. Whereas in the other picture, I can see it's very calm, right?
There's a man in a river, he's fishing.
There's a man in a river, blah, blah. Now, at C2, that is not the vocabulary they want to hear. They want to hear the vocabulary of sounds. Now, I've made it a little bit easier. In the real exam, you have to have those pictures and you have to know the vocabulary. But for today, I've put up some of the vocabulary that could describe the picture on the left, so the picture of the city. And if you just listen to Craig and I, we'll try to do this, just a little discussion just for a minute, Craig, and we'll talk about the sounds we can hear. And this is the kind of thing you need to do in the exam. Shall I start, Craig?
Yes, go ahead, Lynn.
Okay, so in that busy city street there, a really big city, I think, I'm sure that there's a lot of cars. So I'm sure that you can hear the beeping of the cars because they seem to be in a traffic jam. And maybe you can hear the screeching of the car brakes if they have to suddenly pull up very quickly for a zebra crossing, for example.
Exactly, and because it's such a busy street, people might be shouting, especially if someone pulls out in traffic, and you might hear the banging of car doors as people get in the cars or get out of the taxis. You might hear the banging of doors as well.
And there's a lot of pedestrians on the street there. So, I mean, I'm sure that they're all shouting, they're chattering. You might hear the crying of babies. Screaming even if people are angry.
Yeah, and there's so many cars that you might hear the roar of the traffic.
Yes, I'm sure. Thank you. Okay, I'm sure that was more than a minute. All right. So I hope you guys got the idea about the way that we try to display that vocabulary. Look at the picture of the angler. The
fisherman.
Angler is the fisherman, the person fishing in the river. And they are some of the words that we had earlier. So, Craig, would you like to start?
Yes. Okay, so the man fishing in the river, well, there's some trees on the bank of the river, so you might hear the rustling of the leaves as the wind blows through the trees, and also the whirring of his reel. Because he's fishing, then the fishing line goes through the reel, so he might be reeling in a fish, so you'd hear the whirring, wouldn't you?
Yes, and I think on the reel you can hear a clicking sound too as it goes through different tensions. I think you hear a clicking sound as well. But I mean, of course, the most sounds we're going to hear is from the water, really.
Can I stop you for a second? Because people are saying there's no picture displayed. They can't see the picture, which is very strange.
Oh.
I don't know why that's happening.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know why that's happening. Let me try and present.
Sorry, guys.
Just a second while the picture is not being seen. Oh, I don't know why that's happening. Let me try and bring in the one you sent me, Lynn.
I can try again to come back to you. Yeah. Shall I try again?
1 second.
Or not?
1 second. I think I might be able to do it here. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. We're too clever for our own good, aren't we, Craig?
Yeah, we thought because we could see it, you could see it too. Can anybody see it? Because maybe it's just on one platform. It might just be on YouTube or on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
If anyone can or could see it before, I've taken it off now, then please let us know.
Craig, I actually can't see you right now. I'm just seeing a blank screen.
No, that's because I'm uploading something.
Oh, there we are. I
Can
can
you-
see it now.
can you see
it,
that?
guys?
Can you see that, Javi? Nacho?
A shader. Now, yes.
Now you can see it.
Great.
Okay. So let's
Okay.
go back
back
then
to
to
the
the
angler.
fisherman.
Okay.
Just let me take that off. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, perfect.
So in this picture with the fisherman, then the rustling of the leaves through the trees, the whirring of his fishing reel as he's reeling in the line. What else would you hear, Lynn?
I think you'd hear a lot about the water. So probably the splashing as he's like wading through the water. It looks like quite a nice river. So you'll probably hear the water lapping the shore.
And he's walking around, so you might hear the splashing of
Yeah.
the water as he's moving up and down the river.
Exactly. And of course, it's in the countryside, so you're going to hear birds chirping and maybe insects buzzing around. So, yeah, I think lots of sounds in there, different ones, but quite noisy too.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
Okay,
there you go.
great. There you go. Do you want to show another one? Can you show another one?
Oh,
There we are.
okay. Yeah.
Okay. Now, again, you're seeing the vocabulary. You don't see the vocabulary in the exam. But I've put it up there because I thought this is a good little practice activity. If you are preparing for an exam, you can take pictures and see if you can jot down and brainstorm sounds that you could associate with the pictures, because this is the only way to practice. And then in the real exam, because you only have a minute and it's spontaneous, you'll come up with more ideas, because it's not usual that we describe the sounds in pictures. It's a very artificial thing that they do in the exam, because people don't do that normally, but you have to be prepared. So let's have a look at the library. In the library, I thought you might be able to hear the rustling of papers and maybe
Yes.
the tapping of the keyboards, because a lot of people in libraries now take computers with them and they're tapping the keyboards.
Or they might be tapping their pens on the desk as they're thinking and writing as well.
Exactly.
Of course, you can't make a lot of noise in the library, but you might hear people whispering to one
True.
another in a very low whispering voice, and the scraping of chairs maybe as people
Yes.
get up and leave or sit down.
And I thought sometimes in especially that library, it seems to have an awful lot of fluorescent lights, and the lights often buzz, don't they? There's
Yep.
like a very light buzzing of the lights.
There might be a fly in there as well buzzing around.
That's true. And then, of course, people in a library that size, you're going to hear the people. So you'll hear people coughing, you'll hear people sniffling. Sniffling we didn't give, but coughing is sniffling is when you and you'll hear people talking as well.
Exactly. Moving on to the last picture of the safari and the Jeep.
And the Jeep.
What would you expect to hear in that picture, Lynn?
Well, I think you can see a lot of people, and they probably got cameras. So you're probably going to hear the clicking of the camera or the whirring if they're recording it, on some kind of machine.
Maybe the rattling of the Jeep, especially if it's an old
Definitely.
Jeep, because
Oh, yeah.
the ground's probably uneven. There's no road, so it's rattling along the path or over the grass there.
The roaring of the lion or the purring of the lion, depending on whether it's friendly or not. Yeah,
And maybe the whispering of people because they don't want to disturb the animals.
definitely.
Yeah. Or the whispering of the grass. Whispering grass.
Yeah.
If
Or
you
the
remember that.
wind whistling through the grass too. You might get the wind whistling through the grass. Okay.
Exactly.
So you see that we're just like bouncing ideas off each other. You don't have to make complete sentences. You just have to say the wind whistling through the grass. The lion could be roaring, or maybe he's purring if he's in a good mood, right? So you don't have to be... you can be light-hearted as you're describing the sounds.
And you don't
can be
necessarily need
natural.
full sentences either.
don't need
You can
full
just
sentences.
comment on using the vocabulary, obviously, but just it doesn't have to be perfect sentences. Just
Yeah,
interact well with your partner.
exactly. And especially at C2. So because they're listening, they're looking for a natural brainstorming, which is like Craig and I are doing, and we're saying, oh, well, probably the whistling of the grass, yeah, if it's the whistling of the wind through the grass, yeah, or the rustling of the leaves, and he might say there's no leaves there, and I'll say you're right. Okay, so you can back and forth like that. Okay, all right, well,
We hope that's been useful.
I hope so. I am aware that not all of you maybe are doing a C2 exam, of course. But as I say, this vocabulary, it is useful. It's not used in everyday speech with each other, but you will see it. You'll see it when you're reading books, when you're reading the newspaper. and look out for it if you're streaming now with your English subtitles, and you will see the sounds are described in the background on those subtitles often, and that's quite nice if you understand what it is, I hope. Yeah.
So we'll be back in 2 weeks, although not to talk about the exam specifically. We'll probably have a general lesson on probably vocabulary or grammar or something like that.
That's right. And then in 4 weeks' time, we're going to go to another of the senses, because this is sound, but we've still got sight and touch and taste. And taste will be a good one. We'll have to get food out in front of us or something.
Yeah. How many different types of taste? I think there are 5, aren't they? Sweet, sour, bitter. Anyway, we'll look at that next time we look at the senses. So
all right, then.
Thank you for watching and keeping us company. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. Before we go, just to remind you, my name's Craig from mansioningles.com, where you can study for free if you're a Spanish speaker. And we also have products for sale there in our online store. And some of you already do listen to the podcast I do with my friend Reza. So thank you if you're listening. If you're not, you might be interested to have a listen. And we're speaking of sound. So if you like to learn English by listening to it, then go to inglespodcast.com or search Ingles Podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And I'm starting more discussion and conversation groups very soon. There's lots of information on the website. Get in touch. If you want a free consultation, just book a 10-15 minute Zoom call with me, and I'll explain everything about the conversation courses for your speaking.
Okay, and my name is Lynn. Putitlikethis.com is my website. You can go to the website and you can see a lot of details about the kinds of courses that I make. But generally, it all starts from you. So you have an objective, you tell me what your objective is, and then I'll try my very best to help you achieve it. And I create a course for you. Okay? So I hope you have a lovely weekend.
Thank you, Shada. I'm pleased that you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
I'm pleased too. And listen, basically, because if you just you can practice this by just taking a minute wherever you are and close your eyes and listen to the sounds and see if you can actually describe them. I also saw, just as a last comment, that somebody said English is very descriptive. I think it was Javi. Yeah. And I have to say that my students have told me that, because when I've taught C2 people this language, they have said that a lot of these words don't exist in Spanish.
Well, when we do the vision and the sight, if you've got words like glance and glare and peek, and there are so many ways of looking in English.
And so it is true that I think English, I'm sure that there are other languages that are also very descriptive, but English is very rich in describing the 5 senses.
Yes.
And that's nice. It's if you like English, I'm sure that this is maybe a little bit more motivating in that sense, because it shows the richness of the language. So I hope you enjoy it.
Yes.
All right, then.
We'll see you next time. Have a lovely week, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.